So I've told you guys for a while that I'm going to take a mini vacation, and this is probably my final video or my final news video before I officially take it. And I felt like it was my responsibility to provide you guys with Antonio Brown and Jadeveon Clowney updates, as those are two players that we've all been waiting for to finally sign somewhere. And ironic as it may be, we actually got an update in regards to both today, which is fantastic because then I could take a couple days off and catch up when I come back. But before we get to that, guys, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on my notifications, especially because I've been getting hit with a lot of demonetization claims, and I don't really care about me not making so much money. It's just the fact that whenever you get demonetized on YouTube stops showing your content to your subscribers. So, follow me on Instagram, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter. Just so long as you see the content, that's all that really matters. I think turning on my notifications helps with that. On top of that, I'm going to start doing my Madden 21 modded simulation starting from the year 2003 in franchise mode when I come back. It's pretty cool. We start in year 2003. We have all the draft classes and we just re-simulate the past 20 years in Madden. A link to my Twitch is in the description down below. It's twitch.tv/FlightMike. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Now, guys, we've all said the leading candidate to sign Antonio Brown for the past, 1 month, ever since the Baltimore Ravens came out and said that they're no longer really interested in Antonio Brown, is the Seattle Seahawks. It just makes too much sense. They have a history with dealing with troublesome personalities and getting the most out of the craziest characters, and they've built a successful culture based off the principle of allowing people to be who they truly are. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's a perfect place for Antonio Brown to go and rebuild his stock and just a place for him to go and play football. But what even reinforced this fact a little further is the fact that Russell Wilson spoke out on Antonio Brown many times and really supported the idea of signing him. But unfortunately, we got some news, and it's not like an official thing, but I do think it speaks volumes in regards to where the Seattle Seahawks are going to be trending in terms of Antonio Brown. By the way, if you're a Seahawks fan, do not click off of this video because this entire video has to do with Seahawks fans for the most part. But the first part is the fact that the Seattle Seahawks went and decided to re-sign Josh Gordon. And that's wonderful news. I'm glad to see Josh Gordon getting another shot in the NFL. But at the same time, that's bad news if you're Antonio Brown, because it means that the Seattle Seahawks are probably no longer looking at additional wide receivers. They already have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and now Josh Gordon. But that's not to say that Antonio Brown might not sign with a team in the middle of the season. We know Josh Gordon has a tendency to not complete seasons due to off-the-field issues, and hopefully this doesn't turn out to be one of those seasons, but, history is history, and I have to bring it up in these videos. Now, this means that at this point, there is no leading candidate for Antonio Brown. There's no team in my mind that makes sense to sign Antonio Brown. I know in my last video on Cam Newton, I said that the New England Patriots desperately need wide receiver help, but I don't think he'd fit into a system with a quarterback like Cam Newton, even though they desperately need wide receivers. So, guys, in the comment section down below, let me know who should sign Antonio Brown. What's Antonio Brown's fate going to be? Because at this point, I think it's going to be one of those scenarios where he's going to have to wait until the middle of the season and hope some team needs receiver help and hits him up and decides to bring him along. And I think that's very likely considering the fact that we're playing football in the midst of a pandemic. There's a good chance that that happens this year. But for now, at least in terms of being a week one starter, it doesn't really look so good for AB. Let me know, do you think the Seattle Seahawks made the right decision going with Josh Gordon over Antonio Brown and completely ignoring Russell Wilson, or do you think they should have handled this a little differently? But on top of that, ironically, and this is beautiful because I could pretty much tie these both into one video, Jadeveon Clowney gave us a little bit of an update too. And if you think the Antonio Brown situation's bizarre, I think the Jadeveon Clowney situation is infinitely more bizarre. Because this is a guy that has received interest in the beginning of the offseason and elected to not really take any of the offers thrown his way. He felt like he was valued more than he was, and he didn't really pay much attention to the rest of the market. He ignored the fact that there were several great pass rushers on the market, such as Dante Fowler, Everson Griffin, and Yannick Ngakoue, and at least now, a week before the regular season, it's safe to say that Jadeveon Clowney is your best option if you're in desperate need of edge rushing help. But that's the problem. There's not really a team that's in desperate need of edge rushing help. As a result of this, back earlier in the offseason, Jadeveon Clowney was getting offered contracts like 17 to 18 million from the Cleveland Browns, and he turned down that offer. And you have to bear in mind, this is a team that already has a really good defense. They have remarkable playmakers on both sides of the ball, and hopefully their head coach could bring things together. Maybe he was alienated based off of what happened last year, but regardless, when you have a team that already has a good defense that is offering you $17 to $18 million a year that could potentially contend for a Super Bowl, which whether you hate the Browns or not, you have to admit that they can, you'd actually have to take that offer into consideration. But he turned it down, and as a result, he's getting offered deals in the $12 million range now. So now the clock's ticking, because at this point he's missed almost all of training camp. He's going to have to go into a brand new system, and there's only two teams that have really emerged as the leading runners for Jadeveon Clowney. The first being the Tennessee Titans, and the second being his old team, the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason why both of these teams make sense is because he's familiar with both systems, and both teams are still interested in him despite all the craziness that's going on. So, first of all teams think that this is completely insane what's going on with Clowney, but on top of that, the tie he has to the Tennessee Titans is the fact that Mike Vrabel was his defensive coordinator during his best season in Houston, so that could be very attractive to him. And of course, he was traded to the Seattle Seahawks last year, and their defense got even better. They were able to add Jamal Adams in a trade this year, and I like their chances of contending. So he gets to choose between those two teams. But there's this rumor going around that Jadeveon Clowney is completely ghosting the Tennessee Titans at this moment, as of September 3rd, 2020. Now, guys, right as I was about to export this video, we got ourselves yet another crazy update on Jadeveon Clowney. It appears as though there's a third suitor entering the mix, and according to Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport, the Saints are sending an all-out blitz, pun intended, to try to sign Jadeveon Clowney, who has spoken multiple times to coach Sean Payton. At least two other teams are still involved as Clowney's extended free agent saga nears a close. Ian also complements this by confirming what my report was, that the Titans have also maintained interest in Jadeveon Clowney, with the Seahawks monitoring, but the Saints are pushing hard. Clowney would play defensive end in an even front on national TV more than he ever has been, with a chance to cash in for 2021 after a one-year deal. You know, like, at least he's not signing with some no-name team during probably the best years of his career. But, of course, he's only 27 years old, and he has several years of prime football left in him. But I think it's really important to take a lesson from what Jadeveon Clowney went through, to understand what the market is like and to gauge your value based off of how the market is. Clowney was trying to drive up his price after a year where he didn't have great pass rushing numbers in a loaded class with not only tremendous free agency options to get edge rushing, but also tremendous options in the NFL draft to acquire edge rushing. So as a result, instead of getting paid 17 to 18 million this year, he's probably going to get paid something like 10 to 12 million. And hey, if he balls out this year on a great defense, he'll probably get paid even more next year. Let me know in the comment section down below, where do you think Antonio Brown and Jadeveon Clowney are going to go? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.